The morning sun cast long shadows across the Navy SEAL training facility in Coronado, California. Colonel Marcus Hayes stepped out of his black sedan, adjusting his crisp uniform as he surveyed the pristine shooting range that stretched before him. At 52, Hayes had built his reputation on being uncompromising, demanding perfection from every soldier who crossed his path. His steel-gray eyes had witnessed 3 decades of military service, and his weathered face told stories of countless missions in hostile territories around the world. Today was supposed to be routine. The annual demonstration event where top military officials observed SEAL training protocols. Hayes had attended dozens of these showcases, always impressed by the elite warriors who represented the pinnacle of American military excellence. But nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to witness. As Hayes made his way toward the observation deck, he noticed an unusual commotion near the main entrance. A small crowd had gathered around what appeared to be a family visiting the base. The father, a tall man in civilian clothes, stood protectively next to a woman with kind eyes and graying hair. Between them stood a girl who couldn't have been more than 12 years old. The child looked completely out of place among the towering SEALs and military personnel surrounding her. She wore a simple blue dress with white sneakers, her dark hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. Her name was Sarah Chun, though Hayes wouldn't learn this until much later. What struck him immediately was her calm demeanor as she gazed at the intimidating training facility around her. "Excuse me, sir," came a voice from behind Hayes. He turned to see Staff Sergeant Rodriguez approaching with a slightly embarrassed expression. "We have a small situation developing over there." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "What kind of situation, Sergeant?" "Well, sir, that little girl over there has been asking about trying out the shooting range. Her father is Dr. Chun, the new civilian contractor working on our weapon systems analysis. Apparently, she's been shooting recreationally with her dad, and she's curious about our setup." A low chuckle escaped Hayes' throat. "A child wants to shoot on our range? Does she have any idea what kind of weapons we use here?" "That's just it, sir. She seems surprisingly knowledgeable. She's been asking technical questions about barrel length, trigger mechanisms, and sight alignment. It's unusual for someone her age." Hayes studied the girl from across the courtyard. She was now examining a display case containing various military firearms, her small face pressed against the glass as she pointed at different models. Her father stood nearby, answering her questions with the patience of someone who had clearly dealt with this level of curiosity before. "What exactly is she asking to shoot?" Hayes inquired. She started with the standard M4, but when she saw the sniper rifles, she asked about those too. The range instructor didn't know how to respond. The idea was preposterous. Hayes had seen grown men, experienced soldiers, struggle with the precision required for military-grade shooting. The thought of a 12-year-old girl, even attempting such a feat, was almost insulting to the years of training his men had invested in their skills. "Bring the family over here," Hayes commanded. "I want to speak with them directly." As Rodriguez walked away to retrieve the Chun family, Hayes mentally prepared himself for what he expected to be a brief, polite conversation explaining why children couldn't participate in military training exercises. He had dealt with countless requests from civilians over the years, and while he always tried to be respectful, there were simply some boundaries that couldn't be crossed. Dr. Chun approached first, extending his hand toward the colonel. "Colonel Hayes, I presume? I'm Dr. James Chun, and this is my wife Linda and our daughter Sarah." Hayes shook the man's hand, noting the firm grip and direct eye contact. Dr. Chun carried himself with the confidence of someone accustomed to working in high-pressure environments. His credentials as a weapons systems analyst meant he understood military protocols and wasn't likely to make unreasonable requests lightly. "Dr. Chun, I understand your daughter has expressed interest in our shooting facilities." Before her father could respond, Sarah stepped forward. Her voice was clear and confident, showing none of the shyness Hayes might have expected from a child in such an intimidating environment. "Colonel Hayes, I know this might seem strange, but I've been shooting competitively for 3 years. I hold state records in my age group for precision shooting, and I've been studying ballistics as a hobby. I was hoping I might be able to try some of the equipment here, just to see how it compares to what I'm used to." Hayes blinked in surprise. The girl's vocabulary and technical understanding were far beyond what he had anticipated. She spoke with the confidence of someone much older, and her knowledge of shooting terminology was impressive. State records, Hayes asked, skepticism clear in his voice. Linda Chen reached into her purse and pulled out a folder. We brought copies of her certifications and competition results, just in case. Sarah has been shooting since she was 9, and she's won several junior championships. Hayes accepted the folder and began flipping through the documents. The credentials were legitimate and impressive. Sarah had indeed set multiple state records for her age group, and her competition scores were remarkably high. Her training certifications showed she had worked with certified instructors and had extensive safety training. This is unexpected, Hayes admitted. But you understand, Miss Chun, that military shooting is very different from competitive shooting. Our weapons are designed for combat situations, not sport. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. I understand that completely, sir. The sight pictures are different, the trigger pulls are heavier, and the ammunition specifications vary significantly. I've read about military shooting protocols, and I know the safety requirements are much more strict. Hayes found himself increasingly intrigued despite his initial skepticism. The girl's understanding of the technical differences between competitive and military shooting demonstrated a level of knowledge that even some of his junior officers lacked. What exactly are you hoping to accomplish here today? He asked. I'd like to try shooting with military-grade equipment to see how my skills translate to a different context. I'm particularly interested in long-range precision shooting, since that's my specialty in competition. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Master Chief Petty Officer Williams, a 30-year veteran who oversaw the SEAL training programs. Williams had heard about the unusual request and came to assess the situation himself. Colonel, I couldn't help but overhear. Are we seriously considering letting a civilian child shoot on our range? Hayes turned to Williams, recognizing the same skepticism he had felt initially. Master Chief, this young lady has some impressive credentials. Take a look at these competition results. Williams accepted the folder and studied the documents with the critical eye of someone who had spent decades evaluating shooting performance. His expression gradually shifted from skepticism to surprise. These scores are legitimate? He asked Dr. Chun. Absolutely. Sarah has been training with Olympic-level coaches. Her precision and consistency ratings are in the top percentile nationally for her age group. Williams looked down at Sarah, who met his gaze with steady confidence. What's your best group size at 100 yards? With my competition rifle, I can consistently shoot sub-MOA groups. My personal best is 0.3 MOA with hand-loaded ammunition. The Master Chief's eyebrows shot up. MOA, or minute of angle, was a measurement of shooting accuracy that even experienced military shooters struggled to achieve consistently. A 0.3 MOA group meant Sarah could place multiple bullets within a circle roughly 1/3 of an inch in diameter at 100 yards. That's exceptional shooting, Williams admitted reluctantly. Hayes found himself facing an unexpected dilemma. Military protocols clearly prohibited civilians from using their equipment, but the girl's credentials were undeniably impressive. More than that, her knowledge and confidence suggested she might actually be capable of handling military weapons safely and effectively. What do you think, Master Chief? Hayes asked. Could we set up a controlled demonstration? Full safety protocols, limited ammunition, experienced supervision. Williams considered for a moment. If we're going to do this, we need to start with basic weapons and work up gradually. Full safety briefing, protective equipment, and multiple range safety officers present. Sarah's eyes lit up with excitement. That would be amazing. I promise I'll follow every safety rule exactly. Dr. Chin placed a protective hand on his daughter's shoulder. Colonel, I appreciate you considering this. Sarah has been talking about military shooting techniques for months. This would be an incredible learning opportunity for her. Hayes made his decision. All right, but we do this properly. Master Chief Williams will supervise personally, and we start with the most basic weapons. If there's even the slightest safety concern, We stop immediately. Understood completely, sir, Sarah replied with the seriousness of someone who understood the gravity of what she was being offered. Within an hour, the shooting range had been prepared for the unusual demonstration. Word had spread quickly through the base, and a small crowd of curious seals had gathered to observe. Most expected to witness a brief, awkward attempt by a child to handle weapons far beyond her capabilities. Sarah stood at the firing line, now wearing protective eyewear and ear protection that looked oversized on her small frame. Master Chief Williams had conducted a thorough safety briefing, and Sarah had answered every question correctly, demonstrating her understanding of range protocols and weapon safety. The first weapon selected was a standard M4 carbine, the basic rifle used by most military personnel. Even this relatively simple weapon looked massive in Sarah's small hands, and several observers shook their heads skeptically. Remember, short controlled bursts, Williams instructed. The recoil will be different from what you're used to. Sarah nodded and settled into a proper shooting stance. Her form was textbook perfect, and she handled the unfamiliar weapon with surprising confidence. She took her time aligning the sights, breathing steadily as she prepared for her first shot. The rifle cracked, and the bullet struck the target at 50 yards. Not a perfect center hit, but well within the acceptable range for a first attempt with an unfamiliar weapon. Not bad, Williams commented. Try a few more shots. Over the next several minutes, Sarah fired approximately 20 rounds. Her accuracy improved noticeably with each shot as she adjusted to the weapon's characteristics. By her final shots, she was consistently hitting the center rings of the target. Colonel Hayes watched from the observation deck, impressed despite himself. The girl was clearly a skilled shooter, but he expected her performance to plateau quickly when faced with more challenging weapons and distances. Let's try the next distance, Williams called out. 100 yards. A new target was placed at the longer distance, and Sarah adjusted her position accordingly. The mathematical calculations required for longer-range shooting were complex, involving factors like wind speed, humidity, and bullet drop. Hayes expected this to be where the demonstration would end. Sarah studied the range conditions carefully, making small adjustments to her sight picture. Her shots at the longer distance were still remarkably accurate, grouping tightly around the center of the target. The crowd of observing SEALs began murmuring among themselves. What they were witnessing was genuinely impressive shooting, regardless of the shooter's age. "Colonel," Master Chief Williams called out, "I think she's ready for something more challenging." Hayes descended from the observation deck to get a closer look at Sarah's targets. The grouping was tight and consistent, showing the kind of precision that took years to develop. "What did you have in mind, Master Chief?" "The M24 sniper rifle. 200 yards. If she can handle that effectively, then we're looking at genuinely exceptional shooting ability." Sarah overheard the conversation and turned toward the officers with excitement in her eyes. "Could I really try the sniper rifle? I read about the M24 system, but I've never had a chance to shoot one." Hayes hesitated. The M24 was a precision instrument used by military snipers for long-range engagement. It required not just shooting skill, but an understanding of advanced ballistics and environmental factors. "This is a significant step up in complexity," he warned. "The scope system is different, the trigger is more sensitive, and the calculations become much more demanding." "I understand, sir. I've studied the technical specifications, and I know the performance characteristics are very different from competition rifles." Williams brought the M24 to the firing line and began explaining its operation to Sarah. She listened intently, asking intelligent questions about scope adjustments and environmental factors. Her questions demonstrated a sophisticated understanding of long-range shooting principles. As Sarah settled behind the sniper rifle, the crowd of observers grew larger. Word had spread that something extraordinary was happening on the range, and off-duty personnel were arriving to witness the demonstration. The weapon looked enormous compared to Sarah's small frame, but she handled it with the confidence of someone comfortable with precision shooting. She spent several minutes adjusting the scope and studying the target through the optics. "Take your time," Williams advised. "Don't rush the shot. Sarah controlled her breathing and settled into the rifle. The range fell completely silent as everyone waited to see what would happen. Hayes found himself holding his breath, genuinely curious about the outcome. The rifle boomed, its report echoing across the range. Through binoculars, Hayes could see the bullet strike very close to the center of the target at 200 yards. "Excellent shot," Williams called out. "Try a few more." Over the next several shots, Sarah demonstrated consistent accuracy that exceeded what most of the observing SEALs could achieve. Her understanding of the weapon's characteristics improved rapidly, and her grouping became tighter with each subsequent shot. Colonel Hayes realized he was witnessing something genuinely exceptional. The 12-year-old girl was not only handling military weapons safely and effectively, but she was shooting with precision that rivaled trained military personnel. As the demonstration continued, Hayes began to understand that his initial skepticism had been misplaced. Sarah Chun was not just a curious child playing with dangerous weapons. She was a genuinely gifted shooter with skills that exceeded her age and size. The question now was how far those skills could be tested and whether they would hold up against the ultimate challenge that was beginning to form in Hayes' mind. The day was still young, and the real test was yet to come. Colonel Hayes found himself in an unprecedented situation as he watched Sarah Chun methodically work through increasingly difficult shooting challenges. What had begun as a polite accommodation to a civilian contractor's family was rapidly evolving into something far more significant. The 12-year-old was not merely competent with military weapons. She was demonstrating skills that challenged his understanding of what was possible. Master Chief Williams approached the colonel with an expression of bewilderment mixed with professional admiration. "Sir, I've been training shooters for 28 years, and I've never seen anything quite like this. Her natural ability is exceptional, but more than that, she's adapting to each weapon system faster than most of our recruits. What's our most challenging shooting scenario?" Hayes asked, his competitive nature beginning to surface. If this girl truly possessed the skills she was demonstrating, he wanted to see exactly how far they extended. "Well, sir, we have the advanced marksman course that we use for SEAL sniper qualification. It involves multiple distances, various weather conditions, time pressure, and stress factors. But that's designed for elite military personnel with years of experience." Hayes studied Sarah as she carefully cleaned the M24 rifle under Williams' supervision. Her attention to detail was meticulous, treating the weapon with the respect and care of a seasoned professional. She asked questions about maintenance procedures and seemed genuinely interested in understanding every aspect of the equipment. "Master Chief, what if we modified that course for civilian safety parameters? Remove the time pressure and stress factors, but keep the technical challenges?" Williams considered the proposal carefully. "We could set up a progression from 300 to 600 yards using different target sizes and environmental conditions. But, sir, 600 yards is extreme long-range shooting. Even our best snipers need multiple attempts to achieve consistent accuracy at that distance." "Then, that's exactly what we should test." Sarah overheard portions of their conversation and approached with curiosity evident in her expression. "Colonel Hayes, are you considering additional challenges? I'd be very interested in trying more advanced scenarios." Hayes looked down at the girl, still amazed by her poise and confidence. "Miss Chun, what we're discussing is extremely advanced shooting. The distances involved are beyond what most people ever attempt, even experienced military personnel. I understand the mathematical complexities increase exponentially with distance," Sarah replied. "Wind drift becomes much more significant, and bullet drop calculations become critical. I've studied the ballistic coefficients for military ammunition, and I know the environmental factors become much more important." Her technical knowledge continued to astound Hayes. These weren't concepts a typical 12-year-old would even encounter, let alone understand well enough to discuss intelligently. Dr. Chun approached the group, having observed his daughter's performance with a mixture of pride and amazement. "Colonel, I should mention that Sarah has been working with computer ballistic modeling programs at home. She's developed spreadsheets for calculating shot placement under various conditions. She does ballistic modeling? Williams asked in disbelief. I find it fascinating, Sarah explained enthusiastically. The physics involved in long-range shooting is incredibly complex. Air density, temperature, humidity, wind speed, and direction, even the Coriolis effect becomes relevant at extreme distances. I love working through the mathematical relationships. Hayes realized he was dealing with not just a skilled shooter, but a genuine student of the science behind precision marksmanship. This level of theoretical knowledge, combined with demonstrated practical skill, was extraordinary in someone so young. All right, Miss Chun, let's see how your theoretical knowledge translates to practical application under increasingly challenging conditions. Over the next hour, Williams and his team set up an elaborate shooting course that would test Sarah's abilities progressively. Targets were placed at 300, 400, 500, and 600 yards. Each target was smaller than the previous one, and environmental factors like crosswinds were carefully noted. News of the unusual demonstration had spread throughout the base, and a substantial crowd was gathering. Hayes noticed several senior officers arriving to observe, drawn by reports of the exceptional shooting taking place on the range. Admiral Richardson, the base commander, approached Hayes with obvious curiosity. Colonel, I'm hearing some remarkable stories about what's happening here today. Is it true that a civilian child is outperforming our trained personnel? Admiral, what I've witnessed today has exceeded my expectations in ways I wouldn't have thought possible. This young lady possesses shooting skills that rival our best marksmen. That's quite a claim, Colonel. Our SEALs represent the pinnacle of military training, which is exactly why I'd like to propose something, sir. What if we arranged a direct comparison? Nothing official, just a friendly demonstration between Miss Chun and some of our best shooters. Admiral Richardson raised an eyebrow. You're suggesting a shooting competition between a 12-year-old girl and Navy SEALs? I'm suggesting we find out exactly how exceptional this young lady's abilities are. Sarah was adjusting the scope on a different rifle system when she overheard the conversation. She looked up with interest, but waited respectfully for the officers to include her in the discussion. Miss Chun, Admiral Richardson called out, how would you feel about demonstrating your skills alongside some of our most experienced marksmen? I would be honored, Admiral. I understand that your personnel have years of training and experience that I lack. I'm just curious to see how my civilian shooting translates to military scenarios. Her humility and respectfulness impressed the Admiral. Despite her exceptional abilities, she showed no arrogance or overconfidence. Very well. Master Chief Williams, select 3 of our best marksmen for a friendly comparison. Same weapons, same targets, same conditions. Williams quickly identified 3 SEALs with exceptional shooting records. Petty Officer Johnson had won multiple military shooting competitions. Chief Martinez held the base record for long-range accuracy. Petty Officer Thompson was a certified sniper instructor with extensive combat experience. The 3 men approached with professional curiosity about their unusual competitor. They introduced themselves politely to Sarah, treating her with the respect they would show any skilled shooter. Ma'am, Chief Martinez said, we're looking forward to seeing what you can do. Williams tells us you've been impressive today. Thank you, Chief. I'm excited to learn from watching how you approach long-range shooting. Your experience with combat conditions gives you knowledge I can only read about. The comparison would begin at 400 yards, using identical rifles and ammunition. Each shooter would fire 5 rounds, and accuracy would be measured by group size and proximity to target center. As the first SEAL, Petty Officer Johnson, took his position, Hayes realized this demonstration had evolved far beyond what he had originally envisioned. Word was spreading rapidly, and personnel from throughout the base were arriving to witness what was being described as an unprecedented event. Johnson was an experienced shooter with over 15 years of military service. His form was textbook perfect as he settled behind the rifle and began his shooting sequence. His 5 shots produced a respectable group measuring approximately 2 inches, well within military standards for accuracy. Chief Martinez followed with a similar performance, demonstrating the consistent competence expected from elite military personnel. His group was slightly tighter, reflecting his additional experience and specialized training. Petty Officer Thompson, the sniper instructor, produced the best military performance with a group measuring just over 1 inch. His shots were precisely placed and demonstrated the kind of expertise developed through years of specialized training and combat experience. Then, it was Sarah's turn. She approached the firing line with the same calm confidence she had shown throughout the day. The contrast between her small stature and the massive military rifle was striking, but she handled the weapon with practiced ease. Sarah took her time studying the target and environmental conditions. She made careful adjustments to the scope and settled into a shooting position that accommodated her smaller frame while maintaining proper technique. Her first shot struck very close to the center of the target. She made a minor scope adjustment and fired her second round. The pattern she was developing showed remarkable consistency. By her fifth shot, Sarah had produced a group that measured less than 1 inch, matching the best performance by the military personnel. More impressive still, her shots were centered more precisely on the target than any of the SEAL shooters had achieved. The crowd of observers fell silent as the targets were examined and measured. What they were witnessing challenged conventional assumptions about shooting ability and experience. Exceptional shooting, Thompson acknowledged professionally. That's competition-level accuracy under field conditions. Hayes felt a growing sense that this demonstration was approaching something truly historic. Sarah was not merely holding her own against experienced military marksmen. She was demonstrating superior performance. Let's move to 500 yards, Admiral Richardson decided. This distance separates good shooters from exceptional ones. At 500 yards, environmental factors became much more critical. Wind conditions could significantly affect bullet trajectory, and the mathematical calculations required for accurate shot placement became considerably more complex. The military shooters approached this challenge with the confidence of experience. Their shots were competent and professional, producing groups that met military standards for long-range accuracy. However, the increased distance revealed subtle differences in their abilities. When Sarah's turn arrived, she spent additional time analyzing conditions. She consulted notes she had made about wind patterns and made careful calculations for bullet drop compensation. Her methodical approach reflected both scientific understanding and practical experience. Her shooting at 500 yards was remarkable. Despite the increased difficulty, her accuracy remained consistent. Her group size was comparable to what she had achieved at shorter distances, demonstrating an ability to maintain precision as environmental factors became more challenging. Colonel Hayes realized he was witnessing something that would be talked about for years to come. The 12-year-old girl was not just competing with elite military marksmen. She was consistently outperforming them. But the ultimate test was yet to come. 600 yards represented the extreme edge of practical shooting ability. At this distance, environmental factors dominated performance, and even minor miscalculations could result in complete misses. Miss Chun, Admiral Richardson said, 600 yards is exceptionally challenging. Even our best snipers consider this an extreme test. I understand, Admiral. The environmental factors become exponentially more important, and the margin for error becomes very small. I'd like to try, if you'll allow it. The target at 600 yards looked impossibly small through the rifle scope. The mathematical calculations required for accurate shooting at this distance were complex enough to challenge graduate-level physics students. Sarah spent nearly 10 minutes analyzing conditions and making calculations. She consulted reference cards and used a small calculator to verify her computations. Her scientific approach to the challenge was as impressive as her shooting ability. When she finally settled behind the rifle, the entire range fell silent. Hundreds of military personnel watched as a 12-year-old girl attempted a shot that challenged even their most experienced marksmen. The rifle cracked, and through high-powered spotting scopes, observers could see the bullet impact very close to the target center. The accuracy was stunning, representing shooting ability that exceeded what most people achieve in a lifetime of practice. Sarah fired 4 more rounds, each shot demonstrating consistent precision that defied conventional expectations. Her final group measured less than 2 inches at 600 yards, performance that would be exceptional from any shooter regardless of age or experience. The crowd erupted in spontaneous applause. What they had witnessed was genuinely historic, a demonstration of shooting ability that challenged everything they thought they knew about marksmanship and natural talent. Colonel Hayes approached Sarah with a mixture of amazement and respect. "Miss Chun, what you've accomplished today is extraordinary. I owe you an apology for my initial skepticism." "Thank you, Colonel. This has been an incredible learning experience. Your equipment and facilities are amazing, and I've learned so much from watching your personnel." Admiral Richardson stepped forward with an expression of genuine awe. "Young lady, I've been in the military for 35 years, and I've never seen anything quite like what you've demonstrated today. Your abilities are truly exceptional." But even as praise was offered, Hayes was beginning to form an idea that would make this day even more memorable. The SEALs had qualification standards that represented the pinnacle of military shooting excellence. If Sarah could meet or exceed those standards, it would represent an achievement that transcended anything he had imagined possible. The question was whether she would be willing to attempt the ultimate challenge, and whether her remarkable abilities would prove equal to the most demanding test the military could offer. Admiral Richardson stood at the edge of the shooting range, watching as Sarah Chun methodically cleaned her rifle with the precision of a seasoned professional. The demonstration had evolved far beyond anyone's expectations, and he found himself considering possibilities that seemed impossible just hours earlier. "Colonel Hayes," the Admiral said quietly, "what you've shown me today challenges everything I thought I knew about natural ability. This young lady isn't just skilled, she's operating at a level that our most experienced personnel struggle to achieve." Hayes nodded, still processing what he had witnessed. "Admiral, I have a proposal that might sound crazy, but I think we need to explore just how far Miss Chin's abilities extend." "What did you have in mind?" "The official SEAL Sniper Qualification Course. The complete test that our elite personnel must pass to earn their marksman ratings." Admiral Richardson's eyebrows shot up. "Colonel, that qualification course is designed to test warriors with years of training under combat conditions. It includes scenarios that most civilian shooters never encounter, which is exactly why it would be the ultimate test of her abilities." Sarah overheard portions of their conversation as she approached to return the rifle to Master Chief Williams. Her expression showed both curiosity and determination. "Excuse me, Admiral Richardson," she said respectfully. "I couldn't help but hear you discussing qualification standards. Would it be possible for me to attempt whatever tests you use to measure shooting competence?" The Admiral looked down at the 12-year-old girl, still amazed by her poise and confidence. "Miss Chun, the SEAL Sniper qualification is extremely demanding. It involves shooting under time pressure, environmental stress, multiple target types, and various combat scenarios." "I understand it would be much more challenging than what I've done today," Sarah replied. "But I'd very much like a try if you think it would be safe and appropriate." Williams had been listening to the conversation with growing amazement. "Admiral, the qualification course includes shooting from various positions, moving targets, elevated platforms, and stress-inducing conditions. It's designed to simulate combat situations." "I've read about military shooting qualifications," Sarah said. "I know they test not just accuracy, but speed, adaptability, and performance under pressure. I think it will be fascinating to see how my skills translate to those conditions." Dr. Chun approached the group, having heard enough to understand what was being discussed. "If Sarah wants to attempt this, and if you believe it can be done safely, Linda and I support her decision. She's always thrived when challenged." Admiral Richardson found himself facing a decision that could become legendary in military circles. Allowing a civilian child to attempt the most demanding shooting qualification in the armed forces was unprecedented, but her demonstrated abilities justified consideration of the impossible. "Very well," he decided. "We'll modify the qualification course for civilian safety parameters, but we'll maintain all the technical challenges." Miss Chun, if you're going to do this, you'll face the same standards our SEALs must meet. Word spread rapidly throughout the base that something historic was about to unfold. Personnel from every department began arriving at the range, drawn by reports of the extraordinary shooting demonstration. Senior officers, training instructors, and experienced snipers gathered to witness what was being described as an unprecedented event. Master Chief Williams began explaining the qualification course structure to Sarah and her parents. The test consists of 6 stages, each designed to evaluate different aspects of marksmanship under varying conditions. Scoring is based on accuracy, speed, and consistency across all scenarios. What are the different stages? Sarah asked, taking notes as Williams spoke. Stage 1 is precision shooting at known distances from a stable position. Stage 2 involves shooting from various field positions, including prone, kneeling, and standing. Stage 3 tests moving target engagement. Stage 4 involves elevated shooting from platforms at different heights. Stage 5 is rapid engagement of multiple targets. Stage 6 combines all elements under time pressure. Sarah listened intently, asking questions about target sizes, time limits, and scoring criteria. Her questions demonstrated both understanding of the challenges and strategic thinking about how to approach each scenario. What's the minimum passing score? She inquired. 85% overall, with no individual stage below 75%. Most of our candidates require multiple attempts to achieve qualification. And what's the current record score? Williams consulted his records. The highest score ever achieved was 96% by Chief Petty Officer Davidson 3 years ago. That's considered exceptional performance. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. I understand this will be much more demanding than anything I've attempted today. The time pressure and multiple scenarios will test different aspects of shooting ability. As preparations began for the qualification course, Hayes realized the magnitude of what was unfolding. If Sarah succeeded in qualifying, she would become the youngest person ever to meet SEAL sniper standards. If she failed, it would still represent an extraordinary attempt that demonstrated remarkable courage and confidence. The first stage involved precision shooting at targets placed at 300, 400, and 500 yards. Sarah would have a limited time to engage each target with a specified number of rounds, and accuracy requirements were stringent. Sarah approached the first stage with a methodical preparation that had characterized her performance throughout the day. She studied wind conditions, verified her scope settings, and made careful calculations for each distance. Her shooting was exceptional. Despite the added time pressure, she maintained the precision that had impressed observers earlier. Her scores for the first stage exceeded the minimum requirements by a substantial margin. Excellent start, Williams commented as targets were scored. But the challenges increase significantly from here. Stage 2 required shooting from various field positions that simulated combat conditions. Sarah would need to engage targets while kneeling, standing, and lying prone in positions that were less stable than the bench rest she had used previously. This stage revealed new aspects of Sarah's abilities. Her small size, which had seemed like a disadvantage, actually proved beneficial in achieving stable positions quickly. Her flexibility allowed her to adapt to awkward positions with ease. Her shooting from unconventional positions remained remarkably accurate. She compensated for the reduced stability by using proper body mechanics and breathing techniques that demonstrated advanced training. Stage 3 introduced moving targets that required different skills entirely. Sarah would need to track targets moving at various speeds and engage them successfully while accounting for lead time and trajectory. Moving target shooting was completely new territory for Sarah. Her competitive experience had involved only stationary targets, and the calculations required for successful engagement were significantly more complex. Williams provided brief instruction on lead calculation and tracking techniques, but emphasized that this skill typically required extensive practice to develop. Sarah's first attempts at moving targets were unsuccessful, with shots passing behind the targets as she struggled with lead calculations. However, she adapted quickly, applying her understanding of physics and mathematics to solve the tracking problem. By her final attempts, she was successfully engaging moving targets with consistency that amazed the observing instructors. Her ability to learn and adapt under pressure demonstrated intellectual capability that complemented her physical skills. Stage 4 involved shooting from elevated platforms at various heights. This scenario tested ability to calculate angle compensation and maintain accuracy when shooting at steep angles above or below horizontal. The mathematical complications of angle shooting were significant. Bullet trajectory behaved differently when fired at steep angles, and range estimation became more difficult. Sarah approached these challenges with the analytical mindset that had characterized her performance throughout the day. She worked through the angle compensation calculations methodically and made appropriate adjustments to her aim points. Her shooting from elevated positions maintained the accuracy standards she had established earlier. The observers were witnessing consistent excellence across scenarios that challenged different aspects of marksmanship ability. Stage 5 required rapid engagement of multiple targets under significant time pressure. This scenario tested not just accuracy, but speed and target prioritization under stress. Multiple targets would appear simultaneously, and Sarah would need to engage them in order of priority while maintaining accuracy standards. The time limits were demanding even for experienced military personnel. This stage revealed another dimension of Sarah's abilities. Her target acquisition speed was exceptional, and she demonstrated the mental discipline required to maintain accuracy while working rapidly. Her performance on rapid multiple target engagement exceeded what Williams had expected from any shooter attempting the qualification for the first time. She was not just meeting military standards. She was approaching the performance levels of their most experienced marksmen. Stage 6 combined all previous elements into a comprehensive test that simulated complex combat scenarios. Sarah would face precision shooting, moving targets, elevated positions, and rapid engagement requirements all within a single challenging sequence. As Sarah prepared for the final stage, Admiral Richardson realized that regardless of the outcome, this day would be remembered as extraordinary. The 12-year-old girl had already demonstrated abilities that challenged conventional understanding of what was possible. The final stage was grueling and demanding. Sarah moved through various shooting positions, engaging different target types under time pressure while maintaining the accuracy standards that had impressed observers throughout the day. Her performance in the comprehensive final stage was remarkable. Despite the complexity and pressure of the combined scenarios, she maintained consistency and precision that exceeded what most military personnel achieved. When the final scores were calculated, the results created a moment of stunned silence. Sarah had not merely qualified for SEAL Sniper certification. She had achieved a score of 97%, setting a new record for the most demanding shooting qualification in the military. Colonel Hayes stared at the score sheet in disbelief. 97%. She didn't just qualify. She set a new record that may never be broken. Admiral Richardson approached Sarah with an expression of profound respect. Miss Chun, what you've accomplished today is historic. You've achieved something that our most experienced warriors struggle to equal. Sarah's reaction was characteristically modest. Thank you, Admiral. This has been an incredible learning experience. Your personnel and facilities taught me so much about practical shooting applications. As word spread of Sarah's record-breaking performance, the implications began to sink in. A 12-year-old civilian girl had not only met the most demanding military shooting standards, but had exceeded them in ways that challenged everything the observers thought they knew about marksmanship ability. The demonstration had evolved from a curious accommodation to a historic achievement that will be discussed in military circles for decades to come. Sarah Chun had proven that exceptional ability could emerge in the most unexpected circumstances, and that natural talent combined with dedication could achieve seemingly impossible results. But the story was far from over. The implications of what had occurred would extend far beyond a single remarkable day at a military shooting range. The news of Sarah Chen's record-breaking performance spread through military networks with unprecedented speed. Within hours of her historic achievement, commanders from bases across the country were requesting details about the 12-year-old girl who had shattered SEAL sniper qualification records. Admiral Richardson found himself fielding calls from Pentagon officials, military training specialists, and shooting sports organizations, all wanting to understand how a civilian child had accomplished something that elite warriors spent years trying to achieve. "Admiral," came the voice of General Morrison from the Pentagon, "I need to understand exactly what happened at your facility today. The reports I'm receiving seem impossible." "General, I witnessed it personally, and I'm still having difficulty believing what I saw. This young lady demonstrated shooting abilities that exceed our highest military standards." "Are you telling me that a 12-year-old child outperformed Navy SEALs in sniper qualification?" "That's exactly what I'm telling you, sir. She didn't just outperform them. She set a new record that may stand for decades." The conversation reflected similar discussions taking place throughout military leadership. Sarah's achievement challenged conventional understanding of how shooting skills developed and what was possible for someone her age. Meanwhile, Sarah herself remained remarkably grounded despite the attention her performance was generating. She spent the evening with her parents, discussing the technical aspects of what she had learned and expressing gratitude for the opportunity to test her abilities. "Dad," she said as they reviewed the day's events, "the military shooting techniques were fascinating. The way they approach environmental factors and stress conditions taught me so much about practical applications." Dr. Chen looked at his daughter with a mixture of pride and amazement. "Sarah, do you understand the significance of what you accomplished today? You've achieved something that professional soldiers spend their careers working toward." "I understand it was challenging, but I had excellent instruction and equipment. The military personnel were incredibly helpful in explaining techniques I'd never encountered." Her humility in the face of extraordinary achievement reflected the character that had impressed everyone she met during the demonstration. Despite breaking military records, she remained focused on learning and improvement rather than celebrating her accomplishments. Linda Chun watched her daughter with maternal pride, mixed with concern about the attention her achievement would generate. "Honey, this is going to change things for you. People are going to want to study how you developed these abilities." "That would be wonderful," Sarah replied enthusiastically. "If my experience can help other young people develop shooting skills, I'd love to share what I've learned." The next morning brought a flood of requests from media organizations, sports federations, and educational institutions. The story of Sarah's achievement was spreading far beyond military circles, capturing public imagination and challenging assumptions about youth development and natural ability. Colonel Hayes arrived at his office to find messages from Olympic shooting coaches, university research programs, and documentary filmmakers. The magnitude of interest in Sarah's story was overwhelming, and he realized that careful management would be needed to protect her from excessive pressure while allowing her achievements to inspire others. "Master Chief Williams," Hayes called, "I want you to prepare a comprehensive report on yesterday's events. Document everything: the testing procedures, scoring methods, environmental conditions, and Miss Chen's performance in each scenario." "Yes, sir. I've already begun compiling the data. The documentation will be thorough enough to satisfy any questions about the validity of her achievement." Williams had spent the night reviewing video recordings and score sheets, still amazed by what he had witnessed. His report would confirm that Sarah's performance was not only legitimate, but exceeded what he had thought possible for any shooter, regardless of age or experience. The implications of Sarah's achievement extended beyond individual recognition. Military training programs began examining whether their methods for developing marksmanship could be improved by studying her techniques and approach. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a sports psychology researcher from Stanford University, contacted the Chun family with a proposal to study Sarah's development and abilities. "What your daughter has accomplished represents a unique opportunity to understand how exceptional performance develops. Her achievement challenges everything we think we know about skill acquisition." Similar requests came from ballistics researchers, Olympic development programs, and educational institutions interested in understanding how a 12-year-old had achieved such remarkable results. Sarah approached these opportunities with the same scientific curiosity that had driven her shooting development. I'd be very interested in participating in research that could help other young people develop their abilities. The military's response to Sarah's achievement was equally significant. Training programs began incorporating some of her analytical techniques, and her systematic approach to environmental factors was being studied for potential adoption in sniper training curricula. Admiral Richardson convened a special meeting to discuss the long-term implications of Sarah's demonstration. Gentlemen, what we witnessed yesterday forces us to reconsider our assumptions about how shooting skills develop and what's possible for young people. Admiral, interjected Colonel Hayes, I think Miss Chen's achievement demonstrates that we may be underestimating the potential of analytical approaches to marksmanship training. The discussion led to proposals for enhanced youth development programs and research initiatives that could benefit both military training and civilian shooting sports. 3 months after her historic performance, Sarah was invited to address a gathering of military training specialists at the Naval War College. Her presentation focused on the analytical techniques she used to achieve precision under challenging conditions. The key principle I use is systematic environmental analysis, she explained to the audience of experienced military instructors. Instead of relying on instinct or experience alone, I calculate the specific effects of wind, temperature, humidity, and range conditions for each shot. Her presentation was met with intense interest from professionals who recognized the sophistication of her approach. Several attendees noted that her methods could enhance existing training programs. General Patterson, the War College commandant, approached Sarah after her presentation. Miss Chen, your analytical approach to marksmanship represents innovative thinking that could benefit our entire training system. Thank you, General. I've learned so much from studying military shooting techniques. I hope my methods can contribute something useful in return. The academic world also took notice of Sarah's achievement. Harvard University's Applied Physics Department invited her to participate in a ballistics research project, recognizing that her practical expertise could inform theoretical studies. Dr. Michael Chun, no relation to Sarah despite the shared surname, led the Harvard research team. Sarah's understanding of practical ballistics applications is extraordinary. Her field experience with environmental factors provides insights that purely theoretical approaches cannot achieve. Sarah's participation in university-level research while still in middle school represented another unprecedented achievement. Her ability to bridge practical application and theoretical understanding impressed researchers who had worked with graduate students less capable than this remarkable 12-year-old. The Olympic Development Program contacted Sarah's family with an invitation to join their elite training system. Her competitive shooting background, combined with her demonstrated military-level abilities, made her an obvious candidate for international competition. Sarah, explained Olympic coach Maria Santos, your technical abilities and analytical approach could translate into world-class performance in international competition. We'd like to offer you a position in our development program. Sarah considered the opportunity carefully. Coach Santos, I'm very interested in continuing to improve my abilities. The Olympic program would provide training opportunities one couldn't access otherwise. Her decision to join the Olympic Development Program represented another step in a journey that had begun with curiosity about military shooting techniques and evolved into achievements that exceeded what anyone thought possible. The military continued to study Sarah's methods and achievements. Her systematic approach to environmental analysis was incorporated into training manuals, and her performance standards became benchmarks for measuring exceptional ability. Colonel Hayes, reflecting on the day that had changed his understanding of what was possible, wrote in his final report, Miss Chen's achievement demonstrates that exceptional ability can emerge in unexpected circumstances when natural talent meets dedicated preparation and scientific curiosity. 1 year after her record-breaking performance, Sarah returned to the SEAL training facility for a follow-up demonstration. Now 13 and even more experienced, she faced the same qualification course that had made her famous. This time, She achieved a perfect score of 100%, becoming the first person in military history to achieve flawless performance on the most demanding marksmanship test in the armed forces. Admiral Richardson, now nearing retirement, watched Sarah's perfect performance with emotions that mixed pride, amazement, and professional satisfaction. Miss Chun, you continue to redefine what we believe is possible. Your achievements inspire everyone who witnesses them. Sarah's response reflected the maturity and perspective she had developed through her extraordinary experiences. Admiral, this facility and your personnel gave me the opportunity to discover what I was capable of achieving. I'll always be grateful for the chance to test my abilities against the highest standards. Her achievement had ripple effects throughout multiple communities. Military training programs adopted her analytical methods. Olympic development systems incorporated her systematic approaches. Youth sports organizations used her story to encourage young people to pursue excellence in their chosen fields. Educational institutions began studying Sarah's development to understand how exceptional achievement could be fostered in young people. Her combination of technical knowledge, practical skill, and analytical thinking provided a model for comprehensive excellence that transcended any single discipline. The shooting sports community embraced Sarah as an inspiration for young people interested in marksmanship. Her achievements demonstrated that age was not necessarily a barrier to excellence when combined with proper training and dedication. Military academies invited Sarah to speak about goal setting, systematic preparation, and maintaining performance under pressure. Her experiences provided lessons that applied far beyond shooting sports. Sarah's story became a case study in human potential and the importance of providing opportunities for young people to explore their abilities. Her achievements challenged conventional assumptions about age, experience, and the development of expertise. As Sarah continued her education and development, her record-breaking performance remained a testament to what was possible when natural ability met opportunity and preparation. The 12-year-old girl who had amazed a military base had grown into a young woman whose achievements continued to inspire others to pursue their own excellence. The colonel's initial laughter at a little girl's request had evolved into deep respect for someone who had redefined what he thought was possible. Sarah Chin's achievement would be remembered as a day when assumptions were shattered and new understanding of human potential was born. Years later, as Sarah pursued advanced education in physics and engineering while maintaining her status as one of the world's premier marksmen, the impact of that remarkable day continued to influence training programs, youth development initiatives, and understanding of how exceptional performance develops. Her legacy extended far beyond the records she had broken. She had demonstrated that excellence could emerge in unexpected circumstances and that providing opportunities for young people to test their limits could reveal capabilities that no one imagined possible. The story of Sarah Chun became more than an account of exceptional shooting ability. It became a testament to the importance of recognizing potential wherever it appears and providing the support necessary for that potential to flourish into achievement that inspires others to pursue their own greatness.